Guess is they go 0-4, maybe they go 1-3. Haslam's going to come down on Sunday, October 5th, and he says, I want SHEDEUR to play against Minnesota. And the staff's going to say, we're in London, it's rough. Just give us one more week. We don't want SHEDEUR having to go overseas. It's a big ask. And so they stave off the owner for a week. Flacco loses that game. I believe SHEDEUR starts Sunday, October 12th.
I'll keep saying it. I believe SHEDEUR Sanders should play more games than any other quarterback on this roster this year, because he's the only guy that I look at and say, they might have something here, because I'm telling you right now.
Big news coming out of Cleveland. Sources say the Browns ownership has made it clear they want SHEDEUR Sanders as their starting quarterback. According to Colin Cowherd, Sanders has quickly emerged as the frontrunner for the QB1 spot, and this isn't just talk. Word is, the owners plan to push hard on team leadership to make sure he starts right from week 1. This could be the start of a brand new chapter in Cleveland, with the talented SHEDEUR Sanders leading the way.
Jimmy Haslam, many believe, forced Andrew Berry and Stefanski to draft SHEDEUR Sanders. They drafted Dylan Gabriel probably a round or two early, hoping to get out of the SHEDEUR sweepstakes. So the question is, at some point, Haslam's going to come down and say, play SHEDEUR Sanders.
Colin Cowherd also dropped some inside info about what's going on behind the scenes. It turns out it's not just the front office pushing for the switch. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam has been a major driving force in this decision. Cowherd shared that Haslam actually stepped in and pressured head coach Kevin Stefanski to go with SHEDEUR Sanders, even though Stefanski wasn't initially on board. In fact, Stefanski reportedly tried to stop it from happening by drafting quarterback Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, just 2 picks ahead of Sanders. But now, Haslam is once again inserting himself into the mix, pushing Stefanski and the coaching staff to start SHEDEUR right out of the gate. The pressure is building, and it's starting to look like SHEDEUR could be taking over the reins sooner than anyone expected. Still, Cowherd pointed out that despite the owner's strong push, the coaching staff and front office remain hesitant to throw Sanders in immediately. They're apparently exploring ways to ease him into the starting role rather than rushing him onto the field. But Cowherd made it clear, this move feels inevitable. The Browns' ownership is all in on SHEDEUR, believing he's the future of the franchise and the key to turning the team into a serious title contender. Cowherd also brought up something interesting. It's not just about what SHEDEUR can do on the field. The ownership sees an opportunity to make headlines. Starting SHEDEUR would generate serious buzz, and that seems to be part of the plan. Cowherd referenced past situations with Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson, where ownership gave their full backing even when the coaching staff had reservations. Now, it's SHEDEUR who's in the spotlight, and the Browns owners are betting big on his star power to bring both wins and national attention to Cleveland.
But if you believe, and many do, that the owner, he's the one that wanted Manziel, he's the one that did Deshaun Watson, he's the one that wanted Baker Mayfield. This is an ownership group that likes headlines at quarterbacks. SHEDEUR's a headline. Dylan Gabriel's not. I mean, look, we're paying attention to the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns GM Andrew Berry also shared his thoughts on the matter, making it clear that the team didn't bring in SHEDEUR Sanders just to have him ride the bench. In a recent statement, Berry stressed that Sanders was drafted with the intention of competing for the starting quarterback job. He pointed out that SHEDEUR has both the skill and determination to go head-to-head with the current QBs on the roster and make a strong case to be the #1 option.
SHEDEUR, we talk oftentimes about quarterback being the most important position in the sport. We obviously spent a lot of time with SHEDEUR throughout the process. He's highly accurate, can play well from the pocket. Very productive college career. And
GM Andrew Berry also gave some insight into the Browns' draft approach, revealing something pretty interesting. Heading into the draft, the team had no plans to pick up 2 quarterbacks, and they definitely didn't expect SHEDEUR Sanders to still be available by the 5th round. But when he was still on the board, the Browns didn't hesitate. They jumped on the chance to grab him. That unexpected move shows just how much they believe in Sanders' potential. What started as a surprise pick is quickly turning into a legit battle for the starting job. SHEDEUR hasn't just been filling a roster spot, he's embraced the challenge from the very beginning. Since day 1 of OTAs, he's been turning heads with his calm, under pressure, accuracy, and relentless drive. Every practice has only added to the belief that Berry made the right call. SHEDEUR is no longer just a rookie looking to prove himself. He's a serious player in the starting quarterback race. When Sanders was chosen in the 5th round, a lot of people figured he'd be a backup at best, or maybe a long-term project. It's rare for someone picked that late to even be considered for a starting role. Usually, fifth-round quarterbacks are seen as developmental guys who need time before they're ready to contribute. But SHEDEUR is flipping that script. Instead of quietly learning behind the scenes, Sanders is making a clear impact during OTAS. He's confidently leading huddles, staying composed in high-pressure moments, and impressing the coaching staff with his smart decision-making. It's obvious now, he didn't come in just to watch and learn. He came to compete. His performance has changed the conversation, and he's now firmly in the mix for the starting job. What looked like a low-key draft pick at first is starting to look like a bold move with real upside. The buzz around SHEDEUR Sanders is growing fast, and he's become one of the most talked about players in Cleveland this offseason.
If you're drafted in the 4th round or later, you're instantly running with the 2s. More often than not, even the 3rd round or later, you're more likely running with the 2s. Though SHEDEUR is probably going to still be running with the 4s, the coaches suggested there's going to be a fair opportunity for everybody.
NFL insider Peter Schrager says this year could be a turning point for SHEDEUR Sanders. Even though he was a 5th-round pick, Schrager shared that Sanders is expected to get a real shot to play, something that doesn't usually happen for quarterbacks taken in the middle rounds during their rookie year. That says a lot about how much confidence the Browns have in his potential. They're not just bringing him in to slowly develop over time. They truly believe he's ready to make an impact right away.
Quarterback is always going to be looming in every conversation. So I think they're going to want to get those guys action, Gabriel and Sanders. I think they're going to want to have one veteran quarterback. I don't know if there's a value in having both of those veteran quarterbacks and then having 2 rookies on the roster as well.
Fans are fired up as they look ahead to the upcoming open training sessions, where they'll finally get a chance to see the Cleveland Browns hit the field. And there's one name on everyone's lips, SHEDEUR Sanders. With ownership fully backing him, Browns fans are feeling more hopeful than ever, especially after landing one of the most exciting quarterback prospects the league has seen in a while. SHEDEUR has quickly won over the fan base, and the hype around him is real. No matter the age, fans across Cleveland are eager to watch him showcase his skills up close. There's a real buzz in the air. And with the front office pushing for him to lead the franchise, this year's training camp is shaping up to be one of the most anticipated in recent memory. Fans are ready to show up in full force to see SHEDEUR put on a show. This moment is something SHEDEUR has been grinding for. He's been locked in through OTAs and minicamps, even during times when things didn't quite go his way. He hasn't always gotten the number of reps he wanted, but he's kept his focus on the bigger picture. As SHEDEUR put it, you have to understand your situation. Whether you're getting those reps or not, it's all about how you respond. That attitude has fueled his work ethic. While others may have let those setbacks slow them down, SHEDEUR used it as motivation to keep pushing forward. He stayed locked in, kept putting in the work, and continued sharpening his game. Now he's steadily rising up the depth chart, and his hard work is starting to pay off. The Browns have taken notice. SHEDEUR has gone from being a promising rookie to becoming a key part of the team's future. With full support from ownership and growing confidence from leadership, he's no longer just a long-term project. He's the front runner for the starting QB job. At first, there was hesitation from the front office and coaching staff, but his performance during camp has turned heads and changed minds. The story has shifted, and at this point, it's tough to imagine anyone else stepping into that starting role. The excitement around SHEDEUR isn't just coming from within the organization. Fans all over Cleveland are getting behind him. From the youngest fans to the lifelong diehards, the city is rallying around its new quarterback. For Browns fans, SHEDEUR represents more than just a player. He's a symbol of what's possible. His rise has sparked new energy throughout the community, and every day it becomes clearer that he's not going anywhere. The SHEDEUR Sanders era is kicking off in Cleveland, and fans are ready to follow his lead. With ownership applying pressure, and SHEDEUR continuing to deliver, it puts the coaching staff in a tough spot. Will Kevin Stefanski stick to his guns, or will the front office's influence win out? Let me know what you think. Will SHEDEUR take that starting job, or does Stefanski have another plan in mind?
But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion.
The $50 million robbery of SHEDEUR Sanders. Because that's what I just witnessed. Everywhere we've seen, everything we've seen, everybody that has seen him play said he is the one or two in this draft. I love Cleveland picking this kid.
The NFL draft is usually a time of celebration, a moment when dreams come true and talent gets recognized. But in the spring of 2025, that dream took a sharp turn for SHEDEUR Sanders. Instead of a milestone, it became a nightmare. One that might lead to one of the biggest lawsuits the NFL has faced in years. SHEDEUR, the Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, was once expected to be a top 10 draft pick. But instead, he slid all the way down to the 5th round, pick number 144, by the Cleveland Browns. Now, quiet speculation has grown into loud conversations. Reports say the Sanders family is getting ready to take legal action against the NFL and several team owners, accusing them of collusion, defamation, and causing long-term financial harm. And the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems. From the outside, SHEDEUR's sudden drop in the draft doesn't add up.
What we're looking at is a convergence of a lot of history falling into one weekend. There's a history of the NFL and their ideas about protecting the shield and what they feel like. There's histories of the Sanders, history of the quarterback, which makes this really complicated and pretty much impossible to find one specific answer about why Sanders fell. He was probably already a fringe first-round pick, so some of the mock drafts were wrong. There's probably some owners out there who wanted to humble him and Sanders, and then there's just the talent that was there. So I'm not, it's okay, I think, to say we don't know what the specific answer is. What I do know, though, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's important to say, I want to say this to folks on the internet and folks who are paying attention. This is not the Colin Kaepernick situation. This is important to know. Colin Kaepernick was absolutely blackballed from the league for standing up for folks' rights. This is not what SHEDEUR Sanders went to. He was embarrassed for 48 hours in a draft, and he ended up going to a Browns team where he still could possibly be a starter on that team because they managed to have half of Wu-Tang Clan's worth of bad quarterbacks, and he can still work his way up to a starter. So this is not the same situation. His career can still end up being okay.
SHEDEUR Sanders led the entire NCAA in completion percentage with an impressive 74.1%, broke several school records, and was right at the center of what many called the most talked about college football storyline in the last 20 years. With months of hype suggesting he wouldn't fall past the early second round, the expectation was clear. But instead, he had to sit through 3 painfully long days. Then came pick number 144, a moment that quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons. The cameras at his private draft party cut away. The champagne never even got opened. The room went completely silent. Deion Sanders didn't hold back afterward. According to those close to him, he was furious, allegedly saying, "This league just blackballed my son." At first, it sounded like a heartbroken father speaking out, but not long after, the leak started.
Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that.
So a lot of times when you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, "Hey, why don't you explain them?" And SHEDEUR apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, "Well, what do you make of this really bad play?" And SHEDEUR said, "Maybe I'm not the guy for you." That's not the answer. Another moment. What they do during the film and the combine and the meetings is teams will install mistakes intentionally planted in the install, and they want you to catch them. SHEDEUR didn't, and when a coach called him out, once again, it didn't sit well. It's like, bro, there's not many teams needing quarterbacks, especially since Pittsburgh appears to have a deal with Aaron Rodgers and Tennessee's getting Cam Ward. So you're down to the Giants, who were not interested at all, and Cleveland, who traded out of that 2 spot because clearly they were looking for next year's class like the Rams are.
Based on internal messages uncovered by a private investigator working with SHEDEUR Sanders' legal team, messages that haven't been made public yet, but are currently being looked into by several independent news outlets. It looks like a few NFL team owners may have raised red flags about the media frenzy and the branding baggage tied to SHEDEUR. Even more concerning, there are reported claims that some team ownership groups were having behind-the-scenes talks, quietly advising each other to steer clear of drafting SHEDEUR unless they absolutely had no choice. People close to the Sanders camp say these private conversations even mentioned things Deion said back during Super Bowl week. Those blunt interviews where Coach Prime made it clear they would call the shots and wouldn't play for certain teams. Basically, they were following the same playbook Eli Manning used.
Will you step in Eli Manning like, Deion Sanders like, to the point where like you told him, hey man, I ain't taking that psych test with the Giants. I followed you after that. I said I wasn't taking it either. Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
This time around, though, the league supposedly answered with a wall of silence and behind-the-scenes sabotage. According to insiders, the upcoming lawsuit is expected to claim that the NFL worked together to hurt SHEDEUR's draft stock, not because of his skills, but because of how things looked in the media, internal politics, and bruised egos.
If they played the cards and picked him up in the 5th round, but I surely would like to know how they knew he would still be there in the 5th round. I've been on that stage for years and years and years. I've never seen them position the cameras and give forewarning about who's about to be drafted. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, we got to draft this kid. You just robbed this young man of $50 million. And it wasn't on his playing ability. Wow. Shame on you.
Primetime Deion Sanders' natural bravado, coupled with that of his son. They say that the whole interview process wasn't that impressive when he showed up at the NFL scouting combine and refused to work out. That hurt him. The interview process while he was there hurt him, etc., etc. You know what, y'all? I get it. It makes perfect damn sense if he's drafted in the 2nd round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming.
After the draft, analysts on Fox Sports tried to make sense of the slide. Some said SHEDEUR wasn't a once-in-a-generation type of player. Others questioned his intangibles or pointed to the so-called baggage he brought with him. But instead of cooling things down, those comments only added fuel to the fire for Sanders' legal team. They're asking, how does a quarterback with a higher completion percentage than the #1 overall pick fall more than 130 spots? Why did draft experts rate him so highly, yet not one NFL GM publicly pushed back when he slid? From the Sanders camp's point of view, this wasn't just a case of a poor team fit. It looked more like a deliberate effort to send a clear message. Players don't get to control their future. That power belongs to the league. And nothing seemed to capture that message more clearly than Colin Cowherd's widely shared line: "Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback." According to sources, that quote is already being looked at closely by attorneys and has shown up in early versions of the legal filing. To them, it's more than just a jab. It's part of the case.
He said he thought Dillon Gabriel was a little bit better. Y'all, chill out. You're making this combative when there's no need to be combative.
The fact that you're only here for SHEDEUR, okay.
Well, the Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In their mind of logic, we're going to, and I'm pretty sure this same group of people complain about things that don't go their way in other realms of life.
As the season draws near, the conversation around SHEDEUR Sanders is getting more intense, with fans standing firmly behind their quarterback and believing in his potential. On the flip side, some critics haven't held back, calling those supporters naive or even foolish for backing SHEDEUR before he's had a real shot in the NFL. But sometimes, it's the most passionate voices that stick to what they believe, and Garrett Bush is definitely one of them. Recently, Emmett Golden criticized SHEDEUR's fans, accusing them of overhyping him and being too defensive. But Garrett Bush wasn't about to let that slide. He clapped back, pointing out the double standard in Emmett's comments. Garrett reminded everyone that Emmett was already pushing for Dillon to be the starter, even though Dillon clearly isn't ready for that spot yet. Garrett's point came through loud and clear. There's no reason to boost other quarterbacks just to downplay what
It's sad. If it doesn't fit your narrative, you are the enemy. No room for civil discourse.
SHEDEUR brings to the table. Garrett Bush didn't stop there. He made it clear that the support for SHEDEUR Sanders isn't just about what he can do on the field. There's a bigger picture. Garrett pointed out that SHEDEUR has already shown what he's made of off the field, especially with how he carries himself in interviews and press conferences. His leadership, confidence, and presence behind the mic have already made a strong impression. Even though SHEDEUR hasn't played an official NFL game yet, Garrett Bush didn't hold back when responding to the people still doubting him. He took on every critic, questioning how anyone could look at SHEDEUR and not see the talent. How are they rating him like this when he's clearly that good? Garrett asked. He called out how unfair and inaccurate some of the evaluations were, saying people were seriously underestimating SHEDEUR's abilities, and fans weren't just going to stay quiet about it. Garrett made one thing crystal clear. Judging SHEDEUR so harshly before he's even had the chance to prove himself in the league doesn't make sense. There's a lot of talent there that's just waiting to be seen. He kept driving the point home. SHEDEUR Sanders isn't just a potential future star. He's ready right now. Garrett said SHEDEUR has what it takes to be the face of the Browns today. From how seriously he prepares, to his calm under pressure, to how he shows up when it matters most. Everything about SHEDEUR screams leadership, and that's exactly the kind of player Cleveland needs.
Of course, I already think that he's better than the other quarterbacks. Because that move to the 5th round, that's cool. They might have to go along with it, but to me, I think if you ask who got the best tools, I'm going with SHEDEUR Sanders.
Garrett Bush didn't mince words. He made it crystal clear. If anyone comes after SHEDEUR Sanders' fans without a good reason, they're going to get the same kind of pushback they're seeing now. No filters, no holding back. Garrett wasn't backing off, and he made sure everyone knew just how real the loyalty and dedication of SHEDEUR's supporters are. He understood that this fan base isn't just rallying behind SHEDEUR because of his talent on the field. They believe in his character, his grind, and the idea that he can lead Cleveland into a better future. That support runs deep. Not long ago, Colin Cowherd also decided to take a jab at SHEDEUR Sanders and his fans, and what he said definitely raised eyebrows. Colin went beyond just sharing an opinion. He challenged SHEDEUR's supporters, telling them to defend him the same way they had for guys like Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson on Reddit. But this wasn't some offhand take. Colin took it further, targeting everything SHEDEUR had worked hard to build. His words didn't feel like simple criticism. They came off as straight-up disrespect toward both the player and the people backing him. Colin's remarks weren't just about SHEDEUR's game. They were a direct hit on the commitment and belief his fan base continues to show.
100 miles an hour. Yep. All you fanboys, go ahead. Manziel, Baker, Deshaun Watson, defended it to the hilt on your Reddit account. Sorry.
After Colin Cowherd made his bold remarks, it didn't take long for the backlash to roll in. Fans weren't about to let that kind of disrespect slide, especially after he came so hard at SHEDEUR Sanders and the people who support him. The response on social media was fast and intense, with fans speaking out loudly about how upset and frustrated they were. Colin had to face serious heat for what he said, and it quickly became clear that his shots at SHEDEUR weren't something fans were going to just brush off or forget. Sharing an opinion about a player's talent or potential is one thing. That's part of what makes sports fun to talk about. Everyone's entitled to their own take, and discussions around player projections are nothing new. But going as far as mocking an entire fan base and calling them dumb, that crosses a line. Critiquing SHEDEUR's performance is fair game, but insulting the people who believe in him, that's a whole different story. Fans put in time, energy, and emotion into rooting for their favorite players, especially someone like SHEDEUR, who's already shown so much potential. Calling that kind of loyalty dumb isn't just rude, it completely misses what sports fandom is all about. These fans aren't blindly following someone. They see the work SHEDEUR puts in, they see the future he could have, and they stand behind him because they truly believe in what he can become. Mocking that belief takes away from the heart of being a fan. People care deeply about SHEDEUR Sanders, not just for what he can do on the field, but for what he represents. For a lot of fans, this isn't just about football. It's about hope. It's about seeing someone lead their team with strength and determination. The idea of SHEDEUR stepping up as Cleveland's starting QB isn't just some random dream. It's something fans are emotionally tied to. They want to see him succeed, grow, and become the player they know he's capable of being. For many, the connection goes beyond football. It's personal. It's about loyalty, belief, and holding on to the idea that better days are ahead with SHEDEUR leading the way.
Let me go play once again with your little round. SHEDEUR Sanders.
SHEDEUR Sanders is all about the hustle, and he's clearly not taking his foot off the gas anytime soon. Even in the offseason, he's locked in. He was recently seen in Miami, completely focused and getting ready for what might be the biggest test of his football journey so far, a 4-man battle for the starting quarterback spot. The buzz around him is real, and with so much on the line, SHEDEUR isn't just showing up, he's showing up with intention, making it obvious he's determined to earn that role. Amid all the talk and debate around SHEDEUR Sanders, Garrett Bush has stepped up as one of his most outspoken supporters, not just for the player himself, but for the fans who've stood by him. A lot of those fans have taken heat from critics who label their support as blind or misplaced. But Garrett's not just defending SHEDEUR's skill set, he's standing strong for the fans who truly see something in him. His sharp responses to voices like Emmett Golden aren't just about defending SHEDEUR, they're about protecting the loyalty and passion of the fan base. Garrett gets that SHEDEUR's supporters aren't just tagging along for the ride, they see leadership. They see someone who puts in the work, both on and off the field. Their passion comes from real belief in his vision, in his drive, and in the idea that he has what it takes to lead their team forward. Garrett Bush has made his position clear. He's not going to sit quietly while fans are mocked for standing by their guy. His support goes beyond SHEDEUR. It's about honoring the commitment and spirit of those who believe in him. In a time when fandom often gets dismissed or questioned, Garrett reminds everyone that this kind of connection between a player and their fans is bigger than just wins and losses. It's about belief, it's about unity, and it's about backing someone who represents something greater. So, what's your take on SHEDEUR Sanders and the fans who are all in on his journey? Do you believe in what he brings to the table? Or do you think the hype's getting ahead of the reality? And if you're still unsure, how do you view the energy surrounding SHEDEUR and the people who support him? Jump into the comments and let us know where you stand.